Welcome to Mysteries, Myths, and Legends. I'm Taylor.
I'm Savannah.
Welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Happy Earth Day.
Earth Day.
That is
Friday.
coming up on Friday, yeah.
But we love the earth. Shout out if you know that song by Lil Dicky. I love that song. But we don't have the rights to it, so therefore I can't sing it.
I mean, I feel like you could sing it because it wouldn't be the exact same.
I think I sound exactly like him, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, we're just gonna go ahead. I just have something to say, just
Okay.
right off the bat. So I was on TikTok, as I do. I stay on there. I live there basically. And I saw somebody just posted a TikTok of just a question out there to the world. So I was like, I think this is a question I could pose our listeners. So this man, I didn't even write his name down, so sorry to whoever it was, but he said, is diarrhea a real thing, or is it actually just ghost pulling the poop out of you?
See, maybe, I don't know.
Listen, I don't think that we can prove it either way. So, but if it is a ghost, that's disgusting. And also, I don't like the thought of that.
I feel like it can feel like you're being possessed, so
100%. That's why I'm like,
leave...
it sounds crazy, but it has some backbone to it, you know?
Right. So maybe we can just leave it at that. Like you can be possessed
There you go.
at certain points.
And that's what causes diarrhea, kids. Science.
Yes, exactly.
On the real. Sorry for being gross immediately, but I just saw it and I was like, I need to ask.
Yeah, I mean, it was needed.
So.
I do have a little thing to ask though. So I was listening to this new podcast, Rituals, which is run by the hosts of And That's Why We Drink.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the clubs, like these ghost clubs, and there's one that's just called the Ghost Club.
Okay.
And it's like this historic paranormal club thing. And I haven't really looked into it, but I kind of want us to join it.
I mean, I'm down. I'm already a part of a ghost club. At least I was when I was in college. But I am 100% down to join again. Another one.
Yeah, and I think there's another one too, but I'm not really remembering what it is.
So what does this club entail?
I don't really know. I think you're just like a member, and they can send you like invitations to different haunts.
Okay, that's really cool. We should definitely sign up for that. 100%.
Yeah. I know. We're going to look into that and see if we can become members of some of these.
I would love to be in the ghost club.
Mm-hmm. Isn't it such like it's such a basic name, but I think it was like because they were like the first ones to do it. They were like, we're gonna take this name.
And like, what else do you even call it? Like, just call it what it is. It's the ghost club.
Yeah, and the fact of being like part of this historic club, like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, no,
I think it was
super cool.
On the podcast they said that Arthur Conan Doyle, he was in it.
Okay, that's really cool. So
and
it's like super old.
Yeah, and he might have been one of the people to like start it.
What?
If I'm remembering.
That's wild.
So yeah.
Well, that's freaking cool. Yeah, so we'll let you guys know about that endeavor whenever we figure it out for ourselves.
Yeah.
If you would please rate and review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify. Please, por favor. Yes. But other than that, real quick, before we move on to the stories, just would like to say that Poe and Juju says hi to everyone.
Oh, okay.
And for the first time in a long time, they're sitting in. And so hopefully they'll be good. But as I am speaking right now, Juju is trying to climb into my laundry basket. So we'll see how it goes.
He's just trying to get comfy in there.
Right. He's just trying to do his assistant duties, get ready for the show.
Exactly.
But other than that, I don't have any other intro topics. So.
Okay. Well, then I'll get started.
Yes.
So this week I have a story of something that I think we all know about, but I didn't really know that much about.
Okay.
Slenderman.
Slenderman! OMG. Okay. I love Slenderman. Well, I don't. But you know what I mean.
Yeah. I will also be talking about the if anyone remembers the Slenderman stabbing.
Oh, okay. Yes, I do remember. Definitely the murder.
It was not a murder.
Then never mind. Talking about something different.
It was a stabbing. Near murder, almost.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, so there's going to be some true crime in there.
Fun.
Okay, so, yes, we all know who Slenderman is, but let me just tell you a little bit, in case you don't.
Yes, in case you're Patrick Star and you live under a rock and you don't know who Slenderman is.
Right. So Slenderman originated in 2009.
Originated. Okay. That's fascinating.
Yeah. He's like a fictional supernatural character from like a creepypasta internet meme. And the first post of Slenderman was on the forum Something Awful. And he is described as a thin, unnaturally tall humanoid.
Ew.
Which is already really creepy.
Disgusting. Literally
Yeah.
sick.
He's featureless.
So spooky.
Yeah, so he has no face. And he is wearing a black suit.
Oh, he's the man, suit and tie, ready to go.
Yeah. Creepy though. And in stories, he will stalk, abduct, or just like traumatize people.
So fun.
Yeah.
So fun and so good.
He has also made his way into pop culture in like media and stuff, and he's even in Minecraft. The
What?
character Enderman is based off of Slenderman.
No way. I didn't realize he was in Minecraft.
Yeah, so I guess not like actually him, but like based off of him, so the same thing. But
I mean,
yeah.
basically, just it forgot the Slin part
Yeah,
of the
exactly. Yep. And as I said before in the beginning, in 2014 there were several violent acts connected to Slenderman, including the stabbing of a 12-year-old girl in Wisconsin, which is the one I'm going to focus on later.
Ooh.
And this actually inspired the documentary Beware the Slenderman, which was released in 2016.
Yeah, actually, I have seen that.
Okay.
When I tell you that I was 100% obsessed with Slenderman, I fully believe that he was real. Like, I was in it. I was like, he lives in my woods.
Oh my gosh, you were like these 12-year-old girls.
Okay, well, I didn't believe that he was my god or anything, but yes.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, it's a little bit different. Okay, so back to the origins of Slenderman. Created in the Something Awful forum, as I said earlier, there was like a Photoshop contest on there where users were challenged to create paranormal images. So this user, Eric Knudsen, under the pseudonym Victor Surge, he posted 2 black and white images of like, it was groups of children, and he had added a tall, thin figure wearing a black suit.
Ooh,
to these photos. I should have tried to like look up these pictures.
So I've seen the pictures.
Okay.
They look really real.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's the contest.
Yeah.
And that's also the dangers of having a contest like that, because then you don't know if it is real or not.
I mean, true. Yeah. And he actually added text to his pictures, and that's sort of what like set him aside from the other ones that were submitted to this forum, because a lot of them didn't have text underneath of them. So this like added to the lore of the photos, like right off the bat. So his first photo had a quote that said, "We didn't want to go. We didn't want to kill them."
Ew.
But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time.
Ew, that's so disgusting.
Yeah, and then it says 1983, photographer unknown, presumed dead. So it's like, that's
Not
really
presumed
creepy. That's really creepy.
And wait, did he win? Did you say that he won this competition?
I don't really know. I think.
Well, he should have.
I guess, but
He should have.
yeah.
If he did it.
There was a second photo And under this one is where the Slenderman name comes from, really.
Ooh.
It said one of two recovered photographs from the Sterling City Library blaze, notable for being taken the day which 14 children vanished, and for what is referred to as the Slender Man.
Oh.
Deformities cited as film defects by officials. Fire at library occurred 1 week later. Actual photograph confiscated as evidence. And then it says 1986 photographer Mary Thomas missing since June 13th, 1986.
Ah.
So that really just like sets the story there. It's saying
Definitely.
that like Slenderman was there in this photo where like a library was set on fire and then like 14 kids vanished. So so I guess that's where Slenderman, kidnapping children comes from.
Yeah. I mean, that makes complete sense. So,
Yeah.
but both of those pictures were for that contest, though?
Yeah, they were posted on the
Okay.
forum.
That's wild.
Yeah, so that's sort of the first instance of Slenderman. And so yeah, like the text on those definitely made the story what it was, and then people started adding to it by like making their own pictures and putting their own captions on it. So see, like this is what gets me about things like posts like this, that it looks like it could be real,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, it just like puts you in another reality almost, and I don't know.
No, 100%. I think I got really addicted to like finding out everything about Slenderman in high school. And I remember when I first saw these pictures, I was like, this man, I've seen Slenderman in real life. Like this is real. Like there was no doubt in my mind that like these pictures were real, even though they were photoshopped allegedly.
I mean, I guess we can't.
Which is why I said
I don't
allegedly.
know.
Yeah, I know. Because I guess we really don't know if they are altered or not.
There's probably, I mean, I feel like there's probably a way to figure out if it's Photoshop.
100%. But I
But
just am not able to do that personally.
yeah, yeah, it's very believable. We'll just leave it at that anyway. And because a lot of people were starting to add their own spin on this idea, and like the first source was only 2 pictures, the lore of Slenderman was sort of like a group effort almost. That's kind of cool.
No, that's super cool.
And so like some of the descriptions that came out of this, I'm going to list off. So as I said before, very tall and thin, and he is said to have long tentacle-like arms, or just tentacles in general. Which is really weird to think about. It's like, do they look like hands and then they turn into tentacles?
Right, is he half octopus or what?
I don't know. And he can extend his arms to capture prey. Just like, ooh.
Disgusting.
He is said to prey on children. Just like in that first, or in one of those pictures where it said that children were like vanished. He's featureless. Occasionally his face appears to people, but it will look different to everybody who sees him.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard of Slenderman when I was, middle school, I guess, when this first started being a thing.
Yeah.
I was like scared of it, and like I only knew that like he was in the woods, and if you like, it was said to like be, if you were in the woods, he was probably behind you. So, like, you're not supposed to look over your shoulder in the woods.
Ooh, spooks my goose.
Like, did you hear that too? Or is that just something?
No, I totally did. And, like, at my house, we have, like, woods, like, just behind my house. So me and my brother and all my friends would come home after school and, like, we made up a game literally called Slenderman where, like, one of us would pretend to be Slenderman. It was so dark, but I was like, what? Then we were like, because we didn't really believe it that much, I guess, at the time when we were playing the game. But now that I think about it, like, what if he was real and he was out there looking at me?
Yeah. That's
looking at
crazy.
me making fun of him. That's even worse.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know. I was just afraid to like look over my shoulder in the woods. Like that was the one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of forgot about that until I started looking this up. Now I'm gonna be afraid again. But
I know.
so he also is said to have the ability to teleport.
Oh, good.
Uh-huh.
Very good.
And when you're near him, you can get Slender Sickness.
Okay, now that I have never heard about before.
Okay. All right. You might know once I tell you what it is. It's a mixture of paranoia, nightmares, and delusions.
Oh, Lord, I suffer from the slender sickness every day.
Well, and you'll also get nosebleeds.
Oh, okay. That actually, when you said that, just gave me chills because I actually do have a lot of nosebleeds. Just like in general. But I always have. But I'm like, maybe he's been with me my whole life. I don't know.
Okay, well, anyways. There's also a game web series on YouTube, which I don't really know what this is, but it was called Marble Hornets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've heard that.
No.
Okay, well, it was inspired by Slenderman, and it sort of helped to shape the story even more, and it started the idea of proxies.
Oh.
Have you heard of a proxy?
Mm-hmm. I have, but I'm sure that our listeners have not. So.
Okay, so a proxy for Slenderman is a human who falls under the influence of Slenderman.
Oh.
So it's sort of like a puppet for him, or like one of his followers almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's that. And this game also shaped the idea that Slenderman can interfere with video and audio recordings.
Ew.
And it created the Slenderman symbol, which is a circle with an X through it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, it sort of just like made it even scarier. And surprisingly, not much graphic violence or anything is in any Slenderman stories. Because most of them end sort of obscure and like mysterious. You know?
Yeah, that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Because I guess if you like, really got taken by Slenderman, you wouldn't have anything to say.
Yeah, exactly. And like most of it's like, oh, this person went missing, or like, like stuff like that. It's not really like a violent death or anything. I mean, maybe it could be, but it's just like they're never described as that, which is kind of a good thing, I guess, for the internet. It's like you don't really want all that stuff on there.
No,
it probably made it more more appealing to people, because I mean, I wouldn't care to see anything like violent like that, but if it's like a mystery, like that's, it's a scary mystery. More interesting. So now I'm gonna get into the true crime part, which is like, I kind of don't want to, but I feel like I have to.
No, you have to. It's so important to the case.
I know. It's okay. So the stabbing.
It's really
sad.
No, it is.
What happened? Did you know about this one?
I think actually when I said murder in the beginning, I definitely meant attempted murder, because I definitely know what you're talking about. I think I just in my brain didn't realize that she lived, even though that I know that she did.
Yeah. So, and it's also really hard to talk about because I'm going to be talking about 12-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's
how
crazy.
are you capable of doing something like this when you're 12?
I know. And
it's just hard to even think about.
But it's like, think about how easily it is like to like make you believe something when you're 12.
Yeah, exactly.
Like just like all these stories we tell on here, they're like, don't go in the water. The water babies are going to eat you. Like you believe it, and then you don't go in the water. So obviously these 12-year-old girls are going to be like, oh, Slenderman's real.
Mm-hmm.
Creepy.
Yeah. Okay. So on May 31st, 2014, two 12-year-old girls in Wisconsin, they held down a classmate who was also 12 and stabbed her 19 times.
Oh my God.
And they were at a park. Yeah, so I believe the story is that, like, one girl was doing the stabbing and the other girl was just, like, an accomplice who was, like, cheering her on almost.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And I do remember this happening a little bit, like, on the news.
For sure. It was really big.
Yeah. So they said that they wanted to become proxies for Slenderman, and that's why they did this.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently the first step was to murder someone, which is, like, I don't know if that's actually
Right, like,
true.
where is that? Like, show us where that says that. Like,
Right,
where?
like,
I think I remember. Didn't they say like Slenderman was like talking to them?
yeah, I think so.
Creepy.
Because I don't know. I'll get into it a little bit later, but they were found to be, like, insane almost.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, and they said that they were afraid Slenderman was gonna kill their families if they did not commit murder.
Well,
So,
wow.
yeah. So this girl was stabbed 19 times, and she was able to crawl to the road and was found by cyclists.
Shout out to her. She really. I mean, like, genuinely, that is so strong. Because had I been stabbed 19 times, I probably would have just laid there.
Right.
Like,
No.
the fact that she was able to crawl out of the woods, like, simply put, amazing.
Yeah. I know. So, like, once they called the authorities and stuff, she was able to survive. Doctors said that one of the stab wounds was, like, within a millimeter of hitting a major artery.
Oh my God. See, although we don't normally get into true crime, it's amazing to have, like, actually have a story about true crime where there's not someone who is dead. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know.
Like, at least she survived this.
Yeah.
But that's crazy. Like, thank God they were 12 and stupid and missed the artery.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, of course, we wish it didn't happen at all. But, still, wild.
Yeah. Yeah. So, she was really close to death because, major artery
Of
that
course.
would have killed her. So for attempted murder, these attackers were tried in court, but they were tried separately.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said, like, they had different parts in this.
Yeah.
One of them, last name Weir. I'm just gonna go by their last names.
Yeah.
So Weir, she was the one who urged her friend to attack the victim.
Mm-hmm.
And she was at first found to be incompetent to stand trial.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was that, like, out of it almost.
Mm-hmm.
She had testified that she talked to... Now listen, you're gonna laugh at this one. She testified that she had talked to Lord Voldemort and one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay, I know that this is not funny, but I just have to say that is me. But it's really not. I'm not joking about this. This is not funny. Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
So, yeah, apparently she's talking to all these, fictional characters.
Mm-hmm.
And later she was found competent and, like, I guess she got that thought out of her head. She's like, okay, actually, maybe I wasn't talking to him.
Okay.
So she was found competent and pled guilty, but said she was insane.
Okay, girl, make up your mind.
It sounds about right, though.
I mean, no, she's definitely crazy. That's to say the least.
Uh-huh. And she was actually tried as an adult, which honestly I think is crazy. Like, I get that the crime is really bad, but I don't know if kids should be tried as adults. Like, you're 12 years old.
I know.
I don't know.
It's so really hard. I mean, I just think about it, like, imagining if, like, that was my daughter who had gotten stabbed, and I would be like, definitely try them as adults. Because I don't think you mentioned it, but I think that they did leave her there in the woods and presume that she was dead, right? Like, they thought that they had killed her. So, like, in their mind, they were like, we killed her.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's almost worse. So I feel like that might be why they tried her as an adult, just legally, because they, like, really thought that they killed her.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, the whole situation's messed up in general. There's just, like, no good way to look at it.
I know. Because it's like, if you're really going to send them away or something, then they're just going to spend their whole lives locked up. And it's like, what? how is that going to help
I
them
know.
as a
See,
person?
they need like rehabilitation. They need first and foremost, before rehabilitation, they need medication. There's something is so seriously wrong with them. Like
Right.
just in general, they need help. So regardless,
I know, and it's like
hope they're getting it.
you also don't want to blame parents or anything, but like
But
at this
like,
point in someone's life, when you're like a child, 12 years old,
right,
then like I feel like that's not really on the kid as much. Like it's
right.
partly on the parents because they had let them believe that this was happening. I don't know.
It's so hard. It's so hard because like I say this and then at the same time I'm like, but dude, I was obsessed with this stuff when I was 12 and I'm not a
Yeah,
serial killer or
I
trying
mean
to
that's
kill my
true.
friends. So like
Yeah.
I see both sides of it. I'm like, yeah, no, for sure it's the parents, but also like I think there were just mental problems there that nobody knew. And then
Yeah.
they came about in this horrible way. That's what I think happened, which is just horrible. But the whole situation, there's just no words to really
Yeah.
explain it.
Yeah, okay, so let's just move on from that and go to her sentencing.
Yes.
So she was sentenced to be hospitalized in a mental institution,
Good.
which I didn't really know that that could be a punishment or like,
Oh, yeah.
result of a court case.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's prisoners and there's like a prison mental institution. I don't really, do you know
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah. And there are like different like wards like in prison, like mentally ill wards. So like
Okay.
yeah, you can totally be sent even though there are no like what are they called? Asylums anymore. Like there are places with asylum like places inside of them. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Just
Yeah.
mental rehabilitation places today.
Yeah,
But
so
yeah.
she was sentenced there for 25 years
Oh
from the
wow.
date of the crime,
And this is the
which would
girl
be,
who did not stab but convinced the other one to stab.
yeah, she like urged her on,
Okay.
yeah. And so she did not actually stab anyone.
Okay.
She,
Wow. 25
uh,
years.
yeah, so until age 37.
Wow. That's shocking.
But she did actually request release in September of 2021, so a few
Oh,
months ago.
snap.
Yeah, she requested release and she is 19,
Okay.
and she was actually granted release.
No way. No way. I did not know that. She's free?
Yeah. I think so. The latest thing I saw that was it just said that she was granted release and she was supposed to be released like a few months ago. So I believe she is unless they changed their minds.
Wow.
But yeah.
Well, I hope she's doing better.
Yeah, I hope so too. Cuz honestly, I mean,
I think everybody
you're
deserves
not
a second chance, especially if you're
yeah,
12.
especially yeah, cuz like you're not the same person at 19
No,
and
yeah.
12. Like
For sure.
you've definitely learned from your mistakes.
I genuinely think everybody deserves a second chance. So,
Yeah.
I just hope she's doing better out there.
Yeah. And the other girl, Geyser, that was
Okay.
her last name, she was the one who did the stabbing. She pled guilty and was sentenced to 40 years
Oh my
at the
God.
Wisconsin Mental Hospital, which is the maximum sentence allowed.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So they're like, lock her up.
Forever.
And she has also recently requested release, but was denied.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay. See, the reason I have a problem with that is because I know for a fact I've done a lot of research on this case in my whole life because it was just one that I have been obsessed with for a long time. And I am pretty sure both of them together should have been they should have been had the same sentence. Like
No, I know.
it's not right to have it's the whole situation's not right. I can't stress that enough, but I feel like the fact that one of them is literally free right now and the other one is locked up when they both had pretty much the same. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope, but that's so crazy to me.
Yeah, I think part of it though is I didn't really mention this. Weir, the one who did get released,
Yeah.
she has her father, I believe, that she's going to live with, and they're like, okay, he's gonna help her to like get back into the real world and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And her friend, this girl, Geyser,
Geyser.
she was diagnosed with schizophrenia, which, you know, scares people.
Uh-huh.
And she also does not have real parental support.
Man, that's so sad.
So
she just
yeah.
has nowhere to go.
Yeah.
That's really sad. Really heartbreaking. And I mean, people are scared of schizophrenia. Obviously, she has schizophrenia. I mean, like something. Obviously, something.
I know. Yeah.
Like,
Because, like, yeah.
obviously, she wouldn't have just done that.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
but I guess they're like, oh well, you know, since that's the reason, then maybe she'll do it again.
I mean,
I don't know.
I mean,
that,
it's valid. It's a valid thinking process.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just that's tough. It's tough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and so the victim though, her name was Peyton Lawn, Lautner.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm saying it right. She actually spoke out in 2019. So she's doing okay. She
Yay.
has a bunch of scars,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
And she says that she's like come to accept them, and it's
Mhm.
just like a part of her now. So
Wow.
I don't know. She's
so strong.
She's doing okay. So
Ow,
I
my
don't know.
heart.
I guess she'll be like 19-ish now too then.
That's so crazy. Shout out to Peyton. Hope she's doing okay out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So after this stabbing, Slenderman became like even scarier.
Yeah.
Because it was brought to real life, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it being on the news and stuff, and my
yeah.
parents started warning me about like the dangers of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And
Definitely. Definitely. And I remember like soon after this too, like a Slenderman movie came out. And I remember it had nothing to do with that like true crime case at all. It was just like about Slenderman, the legend. And my parents were like, absolutely not. And I was like, girl, I'm going to see it.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I remember being like scared as well. Like my parents, I feel like parents got really scared after that, like you said. And I don't know.
It scares you
It's just
too.
such a weird thing. It's like, I guess you never really think your kids are going to do that. So like you would be scared. Like, oh, what if my kid actually does that?
Right. See, that's another thing that scares me about having kids. Because like,
right.
you don't know who you're about to have.
Uh-huh.
That's horrifying.
It really is. Yes. So, unfortunately, more reports of stabbings sort of popped up connected to Slenderman.
Yeah.
After this. There's also a report of like a 14-year-old girl who she set her family's house on fire while her mom and her 9-year-old brother were in there. And she said she had like been reading about Slenderman and it was somehow connected to that.
Oh my god. That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
That
Were
whole
they
era
okay
was
or
just
not?
like crazy. You know, I didn't really read much about
That's wild.
I think you know what, let's just go with
They're
yes.
fine. They're living a happy, amazing life.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
and
They're
the
okay.
daughter is rehabilitating somewhere in some place that she needs to be.
Yeah, you're right. So after all of this sort of happened, you know, because it was such a thing in real life now, like scary, it sort of disappeared from the internet because it was like less fun to post about it. You know what I mean?
Like at this point it's really serious. Like it started out as something really fun and scary. Now people are getting seriously injured.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like too horrific now that there's real events from this stuff. So, yeah, there's not really much recently with Slenderman because of all that. So maybe it'll become like it'll have a resurgence.
I'm 100% positive it will in the future.
But like, do we want that? Because will that cause more crimes?
Yeah, we probably don't want that. But
yeah.
I
don't know.
I do feel like it's probably going to happen.
I do really like the beginning of it though, like all those pictures that are really creepy and a mystery.
It started so good.
Yeah.
And then it took a quick downhill turn.
Definitely.
I don't know. Do you think Slenderman's real?
No, I don't.
I can definitely say 100% I used to. I can't lie. I definitely did think he was real, but I do not think that he's real anymore.
Yeah, I think it's a really good, it's a really good story to show how the internet can cause, legends to become a thing,
so
you know?
true. Mm-hmm.
It's really cool. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have about Slenderman.
So fun. As I said, I love and also hate Slenderman for so many reasons.
It's fun, but also not fun.
Yeah,
but
fun, and it's also extremely not fun. So
I mean, but that girl did live, so we have that.
True. There's hope.
She's doing good.
You know, that's amazing that she's doing okay. Dang it, I just thought of something to say. Oh, there's also a Slenderman game that I was obsessed with. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh.
But it's online, and basically you're just walking through some woods and you're trying to find clues, but you can't let Slenderman see you.
Oh, see, maybe that's what gave me the idea, that, Slenderman was seeing you in the woods,
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was really obsessed. That game is very scary, because, you're in the dark and you have a flashlight, and you're, looking around, and it'll pop up right behind you.
Okay.
So, I think it's just called Slenderman, but I don't know. It's been a few years since I've played it, so, I couldn't tell you.
Uh-huh.
But, switching it up a little bit from, I don't even know what you would call that story. You just gave us so many things all wrapped up in one.
Yes.
A smorgasbord. But today, for you, well, Savannah kind of already knows, because if you've ever listened to our podcast before, Savannah has seen probably a total of 3 movies in her lifetime. She's not a movie
connoisseur. That's not true.
No, it's not true. But she's not as much as a movie connoisseur as I myself am, especially in horror movies.
Okay, can I just say that before we started recording, I was actually watching the Big Time Rush movie. So
okay, and I think I just proved my point. No, that's actually really funny. I was listening to One Direction before we started recording, but that's obvious. So
yeah.
But because I know Savannah has never seen any movie ever that I asked her, I told her that I needed her to watch a movie for me to cover the story. Mm-hmm. And so she was finally like, I got some time, I'll watch it. And I was like, finally, I can cover this story. Ha ha ha. So today for you, I have The Haunting of the Snedeker Family. Mm-hmm. Dun dun dun.
Now, I want to say that movie, I want to give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay. Before we go into Savannah's movie ratings, let me tell you so the movie that I made Savannah watch, that this story that I have for you is based on, is called The Haunting in Connecticut. Mm-hmm. It is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. So I'm a little disrespected that you said a 6 out of 10. No, to be fair, I haven't watched it in a long time, so I would need to rewatch it.
See, I think I would have liked it better if I was younger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's more of I don't know, it just seemed like it was trying to be scary, and then it just wasn't.
Yeah, no, I get it. I totally get that. But as a kid, let me tell you, that was the scariest movie I had ever seen.
Yeah, no, I would have been scared if I was a kid.
I was so scared. And what's really even more scary about it, I think it makes all scary movies more scary, is the fact when they're based on a true story.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's why they say that most of the time. And most of the time it is based on a true story, but this one is really, really based on a true story. The story of the Snedeker family. So I also want to say, so this movie, Haunting in Connecticut, came out in 2009. So all I have to say is, big spoiler alert. If you haven't watched it by now, I'm not caring. There's going to be lots of spoilers from here on out. So if you want to pause and go watch the movie and come back, you should do that. Because
Okay, but the movie you say comes out in 2009.
Yeah.
That's when Slenderman started.
That's crazy. Wow. Okay, see, our stories always have some sort of a something connection. Yeah. That's amazing. So yeah, it's been nearly 15 years. I think that you should have watched it by now if you wanted to not be spoiled. So, just right now, overhead, spoiler alert. Anyway, so this case, this haunting, is actually a case where Ed and Lorraine Warren get involved too. So I'm super excited to get into it. We love a good Ed and Lorraine story. Okay, so let's set the scene. It is 1986, and this married couple named Alan and Carmen Snedeker, along with their 3 sons, 1 daughter, and 2 nieces, they had a load with them, let me tell you. They all moved into a simple, small, white duplex rental home in Southington, Connecticut. And if you know anything about anything haunted at all, like everything in Connecticut is haunted. Like every single thing. That's where the Warrens like lived. They lived in Connecticut. So I was like, that's interesting. They obviously lived there for the ghost. So yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of New England is just because
It's old.
that's
Yeah.
and that's where a lot of the settlers came
Yeah.
in, and ghosts are, I believe they come from like trauma almost,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's obviously a lot of that in like New England
Of course.
when it first became a thing. So
Yes.
I can see why there's a lot of ghosts up there.
Exactly. Me too. So, this family, just this large family, just moves into a new house, and that seems all normal and good, right? Wrong. Obviously. So the rental home that they just moved into, turns out it was actually a funeral home in the past. So, in the basement, so they didn't know this. I'm going to go ahead and preface this. So when they moved in, the reason for them moving in is that their son has, he had, Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is cancer, a form of cancer, if you didn't know. And so he was like undergoing medical treatments at this hospital in Southington, Connecticut, and they lived like about 2 hours away from that. And it was beginning to get too much to drive back and forth every single day for his treatments. So they were like, okay, we need to get a place closer just for at least the time for his treatment, because like they could not do the back and forth every day. So they, what's her name? Carmen, the mom of the family. She, went looking for places to rent, and she found this place. And when they did the tour, they actually only showed her like the first level because she didn't have a lot of time to look that day. And she was like, you know what? This is good. I'll take it. She didn't look at anything else. So when she got the house, she did not know that it had been a funeral home. They did not tell her. She did not know. She did not go in the basement. And let me tell you, if anybody's out there getting a house, rental, buying, doesn't matter, please go look in the basement.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I feel like they should have told her that, right? Is that not required?
It's definitely not required. And like, it's definitely different in every state. I know in North Carolina, you don't have to tell them that somebody died in your house unless it happened within the last 3 years.
Yeah, and I don't think I would really care if it happened for like a long time ago.
No, I don't know about you, but I would surely care. I would like to know everybody who has ever died on the property just so I know who I'm about to meet.
Okay, true. But if you whenever I think about like cases where like somebody's died in the house or something like that, I think about in Europe, like those houses are really old, older than America, some of them, and been there for forever, so they definitely have people who've died in it.
For sure.
So it's like they don't care over there.
Do they care?
I feel like we make a big deal of it as Americans. I don't know if
maybe. It could be very much so true. I actually don't know anything about how people outside of America feel about ghosts. Can you guys let us know, please?
Yeah.
Because I would love to know.
I don't know. I've definitely seen some people like on TikTok and stuff. I've just seen people talk about this, so that's just been in the back of my mind whenever I see stuff like that.
No,
I'm like,
sure.
oh, well, that person said this. So I'm like, maybe that's not everybody, but
I know.
Some people have said that.
No, that's for sure.
It's just a different perspective. Like, oh, maybe other people don't care as much, or they just aren't ghosts.
Yeah, and also a lot of people don't believe in ghosts. So why would they want to know how many people have died in their house? I do get it, but me personally, my realtor better tell me if somebody has died.
Yeah.
Anyways, so following along with the movie, you would say that this is very accurate, right? Like the story. I'm not telling you the movie story. I'm telling you the real story. So the movie actually follows the real story extremely closely, which is not normal for movies.
Yeah, so far it's like exactly what the movie was.
And
Except for
yeah,
in the movie the mom did know
yeah.
that it
Well,
was a
she did
funeral
not
home.
know.
But she just
Well,
didn't tell anybody.
or so she claims that she did not know. I guess we'll see. So what's interesting, so they move into the house, whatever. It's fine at first. Everything's fine. He's getting his treatments closer to where he needs to be. And so soon after he starts getting his radiation treatment, he actually begins to exhibit radical personality shifts. And would start he always was like writing things down, but as soon as they moved into the house and he started his treatment, he began writing poetry with necrophiliac themes.
That's not good.
So, that worried them a little bit. But when they brought it up to the doctors, they were like, it's probably just a side effect of his treatments. Like he's young, he's going through a lot, like maybe that's what it is.
I guess so.
I mean, I guess so. But like,
I don't know.
I don't know if I would have, I don't know. But
that seems pretty concerning. The doctors really just didn't care. They're like, oh yeah,
they didn't. They're like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, it was the 1980s. I don't know. It would be treated differently now, I guess. But so, let's see here. So eventually, other facts emerged from living in this house. And obviously, they found out that it was a funeral home. So this was disturbing to them because they were like, okay, the fact that he's writing about these things and then like this was actually a funeral home, that's a little weird, right? So just keep that in the back of your mind. So besides, whoa. Okay, no. Sorry, I lost my place in my notes and then I got real confused. So, after he starts writing all this stuff down and, he's starting to have like personality shifts, things go downhill really fast. He starts like developing a drug habit and they never really said which specific drug. So I don't know which ones. So, but then that led him down even darker of a path. So, it's just a mess at this point. And then he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Okay.
So finally, his doctors, once they were like, okay, maybe this isn't just a phase, like maybe we should test him. So he did in fact have schizophrenia. So in the movie, it is shown as if it's a demon taking over this boy, making him do evil things. But in the real life story, it almost at least seems as if it could be his mental illness that's making things happen. So I haven't got to what's happening yet, but just as a preface. So,
yeah.
But could it be ghosts? Could it be mental illness? I don't know. I think that's a valid argument for almost every haunting story ever. So,
yeah.
Moving on. I'm just gonna go ahead and say a huge trigger warning for like the rest of this. It's really bad. Okay, it's like really, really, really bad. So if you get triggered, maybe you just skip this one because it's no bueno.
Except I'm not allowed to skip it.
No, not everybody but Savannah can have a choice in this. So he was actually accused of raping his little cousin who lived with them, named Kelly. And so after this happened, the family sent him away from the house. And when he left and went and got treatment, he immediately got better. And so they were like, okay, that's weird. But like maybe, maybe again, he was going through a lot. That does not justify anything that he did. But I don't know. Maybe mentally, obviously there were a lot of things wrong. So when he left the house, he got better. So, let me see. Also, it's important to know that Carmen did not believe in ghosts before moving into the house. And it wasn't really that she was extremely religious or anything. She just was like, I don't believe in ghosts. Which is another reason I think when she walked into the house, she was like, I don't care what the basement looks like. Again, could it be me? But, So, let me see here. Okay, so the phenomena of what went on after what I've already mentioned. So, eventually, the son, he gets brought back to the house because obviously he needs to continue his cancer treatments. And he's better. They're like, no, he's completely fine. Like all the doctors, they've signed him off. He's cleared. He's good to go. They're like, no, I genuinely think it was just like something was happening with him and now he's better. Like he's been rehabilitated and he's good. So the Snedekers are like, okay, let's bring him back. Let's do it. And so then he comes back and things start going on again in the house. And now what's important to mention is that him and one of his little brothers were, just like in the movie, living in the basement. Okay?
Okay. But he was not just by himself.
He was not just by himself. Not at...
Because in the movie, he lived down there by himself.
Mm-hmm.
And like, okay,
so not at
he
first.
Has a roommate.
Yeah, so when they brought him back, at first he was living there by himself. Sorry, this is confusing. He did move down there by himself. But then when he left after what he did, he came back and his brother moved down there with him. Okay, so now let's move on to, we're going to just step away from the son for a moment and move on to experiences that other members of the family have had in the house.
Okay.
And these things happen. Sometimes the son was there, sometimes it was not. So, like, these things are independent of him, at least, in this moment. So, Carmen, the mom, and the niece Kelly both experience brutal rapes in this house, okay?
Oh my
so we
God.
already knew about Kelly's. But the mom says that it was by an unseen force.
Oh.
So, like, she was in bed, felt it happening, but nothing was there. So that's horrifying.
Okay, yes, that is actually...
Yes.
That's terrifying.
Right. And so then what makes it worse than that, when that happened, obviously that freaked her out. But they stayed for her son, you know. She was like, it's fine. Then a couple weeks later, Carmen's husband, Alan, was sodomized again by an unseen entity.
Oh my God.
And so they were like, okay. So then after those two things happened, things started going crazy. They would hear noises, they would hear voices, but only at night. So that's really scary. Like in the house, they would just hear voices talking and nobody would be there. They saw with their own eyes, okay, mop water that they were using to mop the floors turn to dark red blood.
Oh, that was in the movie.
Oh, really? God, I have not seen that movie in so long. Don't even remember that. That's
But
crazy.
only the son with cancer, he's the only one who saw it.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so also throughout the house... Oh, go ahead.
Can I just...
Yeah.
In the movie, they, like, painted it as the son was, like, the only one who saw all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they were making it seem like it was because he had cancer and he was, like, closer to the other side.
Oh,
like, because he was close to death.
I mean, that makes sense.
So he's the only one really being affected by it. Which seems like in real life, you were saying, like, he's the only one whose attitude changed and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's because he was, like, possessed or something.
I mean, yeah. So that's what it is leading into, is that people think that he was possessed.
And that would sort of connect with the idea that he's closer to the other side, because, like, why wouldn't anybody else be? But, like, that's why.
Exactly. So maybe that is the case. I mean, honestly, we are never going to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Which, that's horrifying. Like, that's really scary.
Yeah. It's like you're already going through enough. And
right.
Then now...
Like, is he not going through enough already? Come on now. Right. So some other things that they saw, or that just happened to them, scents of rotting flesh and decay were reported all the time throughout the house, which is disgusting. They would actually see ghostly apparitions, like walking around, specifically one of them being a woman with long black hair and black eyes. So, no. And another one that they often saw was a man with white hair and, like, really light colored eyes wearing a pinstripe tuxedo.
Okay.
Which I'm like, okay, who was that? So after all this went down, the Snedekers were like, okay, nah, we're good. Let's call in some help because we can't not do this anymore. Obviously, to the point. Like, so they call in Ed and Lorraine Warren. So before I get into Ed and Lorraine's part, I'm going to back it up a little bit and explain, because I definitely forgot to mention it earlier. Them finding out that it was a funeral home. So obviously when they move in, they, do a full look down of the house or whatever, going through things and picking out who's going to be in whose room or whatever. And they go downstairs. And so it was never mentioned to them that it was a funeral home. They also couldn't, like, find anything, like any research proving that it was at the time. But they were able to find certain things in there, such as, like, bedpans, like surgical tools, they even had toe tags. So they were like, okay, and also a blood drain on the floor. So they were like, okay. So it was definitely something.
See, I talked about not really caring as much if people had died there, but like if that was in there, I would
So you
care.
changed your mind. Yeah,
No,
exactly.
that's
No, I'm
different.
like,
It's different though.
it is. I mean, it's definitely different. It's
Honestly, it also does matter how they died. So I guess I do kind of care. I don't know. I'm
exactly.
flip-flopping.
Exactly. Like, of course I don't want to believe it's real, but you can't take that risk. You really
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Ed and Lorraine. So Ed and Lorraine Warren actually brought another investigator with them to do this because they were like, let's just take all the help we can get. And I forgot his name and I forgot to write it down. So sorry, whoever you are. But so there were 3 investigators who were working this house. So in the time they were like, okay, family, I need all of y'all to leave. So we're going to move into the house. We want to like feel what y'all are feeling and see if it happens to us. Because they had obviously explained what was going on. And I think the Warrens were kind of like a little skeptical that it was a ghost. Like, I mean, as we all are sitting here, like, is it the sun or is it a ghost? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel that.
So they were like, y'all need to leave and we'll just stay here and we'll see what we experience. And so Ed, Lorraine, and the other investigator move in and the family move out. And so personally, I think that idea was kind of smart because, if it is a ghost, they're going to experience something. And if it's not, it's one way to prove that like it is the sun, And although there are a lot of skepticism and criticisms over Ed and Lorraine Warren, that at least is one thing I think, like a scientific-ish method of ghost hunting, I don't know. As good as I guess it can get.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like as good as I could probably do.
Mm-hmm.
So they did this, and it did take like 3 or 4 days actually for them to experience something, but then they did. And once it started, it did not stop, which is crazy. So they claim that they experienced the noises at night, the like people talking at night, which is so scary. Like, why is it only happening at night? And they were also slapped, beaten, pushed, and slammed to the door. Not to the door, to the floor multiple times. God. And so, in general, they felt very unsafe and that whatever was here was very violent. Because that happened, just like once that started, it happened immediately. And they're like, okay, this is bad. So what's crazy, in fact, is that in the middle of the Warrens' stay in this house, the police came back to like the Snedeker family and found out that the man who owned the home before actually was found guilty of necrophilia.
Oh my God.
And so this was like almost as if like just confirming everything. Like, okay, maybe this man really is like the ghost here, like one of them at least. And so in my head, I picture him as the guy in like the pinstripes tuxedo. That's what I picture when I see this story, which is so creepy because that is very bad. So on top of that, along with all of the violence that they were experiencing, this led them to believe that a full-scale exorcism of the property was needed. So they performed the exorcism and declared that the house was safe for the family to return to. But sadly, there were too many bad memories that happened there, obviously. So the family actually never returned to the house. They never moved back. Never ever. They were like, we're done with that.
Yeah, honestly, I would do that too.
Me too. Me too. And you know what? I feel like normally in stories like this, we're like, the family's so stupid for going back. So you know what? Shout out to them for not going back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I really feel like, I know I already said this, but I really feel like the movie kind of follows the story really well.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, it does, except for all the sort of graphic stuff.
Yeah, I think because
they wanted it. Yeah. They wanted it to be PG-13
for sure. And they wanted it to make it look more as ghost-like than more ghosts as if it could be. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But so I also thought I would mention that I did not ever realize I've literally went to the movies and saw this movie in theaters and never realized that this was like an Ed and Lorraine Warren case until I did the research for this podcast.
Oh yeah, because they're not really in the movie.
No, they're not at all, because the movie came out before the Conjuring era, which is just so crazy to me. Like that there is an era before the Conjuring and that I was alive during it, because I feel like the Conjuring like kind of set the way for horror movies today.
Yeah.
And the Conjuring universe that is today, like there's probably like 10 movies now. Like if The Haunting in Connecticut was never made, this story would be a Conjuring movie today. 100%. Because it follows like Ed and Lorraine Warren, you know, throughout their adventures. So I don't know, it's kind of cool. I think it's cool that it's not a Conjuring movie, that it was made before.
Yeah, it's like a
because it would have been like way more theatrical and stuff, you know?
Yeah. See, that's what I was kind of expecting it to be, like different than it was.
I know.
But yeah.
I know. So good.
I thought it was a part of all of that, you know, because I have heard this story on other podcasts before.
Mm-hmm.
So I was expecting more of that type of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. The movie was...
I know. It's crazy.
It's okay. But also, at the end of that movie, more spoilers, as we're doing spoilers for this whole thing. But anyways, they like burned down the house.
Yeah, so
did that happen?
No.
That
so
didn't happen.
I was gonna get into it. So the only thing, I mean, obviously there are many parts of the movie that don't exactly line up to the story, and it won't.
They also found bodies in the basement. So
so I was gonna say right? That the ending is what is not at all true about the story. The ending is simply just for the movie. So yeah, there were not bodies found in the house. Like there were, not sadly, but it makes the story that much cooler if it was, you know.
Yeah, it just adds to the drama.
For sure. So definitely go watch the movie because it's really good. But no, that did not happen. So yeah, it really ended with them as they left the house in real life. But as I said before, the Snedekers never once, ever have wavered in their version of events that went down. They say, and there was so much controversy because they were in the news. There were many interviews with them in real life, and I watched a whole hour-long interview with them, and that nobody believes them. Like they don't. And I don't know. I mean, they're victims in either way, so I'm gonna believe them. But yeah, they were like, no, I don't really care if you believe me or not, but this happened to me, and this is what I believe because it happened to me. So, yeah, you know, I think that really says something when you stick to your guns like that.
Yeah, that definitely helps you be more believable.
Exactly. So, to talk about the house today, the house still stands. It is not burned down like the movie. It is, you know, still a house. So the people who actually live there today claim that the house was never a funeral parlor to begin with, and that there is no history of anyone who has lived at the house that experienced anything with evil spirits. So I'm just going to say, have fun living in denial, because it was confirmed that it was a funeral home.
Exactly. Isn't there records? You can prove it.
I think they are just trying to make themselves feel better about the situation, because there are stories from other people who have lived in the house before the current ones, but after the Snedekers. So there are stories of other things happening. So, I don't believe them. I'm sorry if maybe they don't believe in ghosts. I don't know, because there's a whole argument also of that people who believe in ghosts will experience ghost things because you're opening your mind enough to it. So maybe people who don't believe in ghosts don't experience ghost things because they don't believe in it. You know? I don't know. Yeah. There's so many unknowns that we just can't really answer the question. Mm-hmm. But the people who live there today say that all of this is a lie, which I'm sorry, but that is a lie. So, yeah, and that's at least what I believe. So, but other than that fact, there is a little snippet of evidence to prove that this story might not be entirely true. So this man, Ray Garton, he is an author who wrote about Ed and Lorraine Warren's lives. And he ended up writing a bunch of different books on the things that they did. And so he wrote one book. I'm trying to see if I wrote the name down. I guess I didn't, but he wrote a book on this story. And, let's see here. He claims that the individual accounts from the Snedekers did not really perfectly match up with each other. So he ended up interviewing every member of the family. And he was generally the story made sense, but there were small details that were and I'm that's probably every story though. But just to go along with him, okay, maybe they're lying. So this author Ray, he actually ended up going to Ed Warren when he was still alive and was like, hi, IDK, if these people are telling the truth or not. Like, I don't know. I can't tell if they're adding things to make it seem more scary or if they're just crazy. And the response Ed gave made me laugh so hard. So, you know, this author is just like, I think these people are crazy and just want money. And Ed says, well, Ray, every person we work with is crazy in one way or another. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm just like, okay, but honestly, true. Because it's funny. Like, that's funny. Because they only experience crazy situations. Real or not, it was always crazy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? The man's telling the truth here. So although pretty much every fact of this case that I've said can be argued in one way or another, there is one thing that is absolutely rock solid that no one can argue. And it's that the son did in fact have cancer and did in fact receive treatment from that hospital. So, and they did in fact live in the house. So all I'm saying is that personally, I do believe them. And maybe not to the extent of every single thing that they said, but I mean, why would people make up a story like this? Especially at a time like that in the 1980s. Their son was sick. They didn't know if he was going to make it. He did make it, indeed. He did survive. His cancer went into remission. But tragically, it did end up coming back later in life, and he died when he was 48. So,
oh wow,
it is tragic. But he ended up living some of a life, you know. It's at least good. He did at least go into remission for a little bit. So yeah, some people are really like have really strong feelings about this case. Like, some people really think that it's true, and others really think like the whole thing is a hoax. So that's really all I have. I don't know why people think it's a hoax. I mean, I understand. I don't know. Like, I don't feel like it's a very hoaxy situation.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I really do believe them. I really do.
Because, like, you can make money off of anything. That doesn't mean you're lying.
Right. And, like, all these talk shows that I watched this couple on, like, they were just, like, making fun of them the whole time. And they were just had to sit there and be like, I mean, it happened. Like, right. I don't know. Like, I really do believe them. Why would they, if they're going to make money, why do it like that? You know, why do it like that? I don't know. So that is the haunting of the Snedeker family.
That's, yeah.
Yeah, definitely go watch The Haunting in Connecticut, because it's good.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah, I really haven't watched it in like 10 years.
Yeah.
At least, so. It's probably not as good as I remember. There is also, I didn't tell you this, or maybe I did. There's a Haunting in Connecticut too. Movie, but it's completely a different story. And so it's so funny because I feel like the Haunting in Connecticut, like, franchise walked so that The Conjuring could, you know, thrive.
Yeah.
Because it was basically followed like another haunted story of this like plantation that was haunted, and that movie's really good too. But I don't know. It's crazy. Okay. So
I don't know. I feel like I agree with you where, like, why would they make it up?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I did find a reason, like, I guess there is still a chance that they did make it up. Like, I'm not totally convinced.
For sure.
But, yeah, I feel like I'm leaning on their side.
I know. At least, I mean, like, I just don't know. Because, also, why would they tarnish, the only thing I could see, why would they tarnish their reputation like that?
Yeah.
They knew, they had to know, regardless of if people were going to believe them, that this was not going to make them look good.
Mm-hmm.
And I just refuse to believe that somebody would do that. At least, especially back then, for fame, for clout. Like, I don't know. That's just not the way it works. They also didn't get money. They didn't make money. So it didn't work if that was their plan.
Oh. You're sure they didn't make any money?
I mean, maybe a few dollars, but, like, no. They went back to living a completely normal life after this elsewhere. So, like, no.
I mean, they did have all those medical bills. Maybe they just needed it for that, and they weren't living a lavish life. They were just paying their medical bills off.
I mean, maybe.
For this kid with cancer.
Maybe, but they didn't get that much money. Like, they really did not. Like, I don't know the exact dollar amount, but, like, probably not even $1,000.
Okay.
Which
Well, then,
does
yeah,
make it
I
more
don't see why
believable.
they would do it then.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know.
Okay, well, there you go.
But I guess we'll never know the real truth behind it. I don't know. It's so creepy, though. I just think about, like, other things that are, like, based off living in a funeral home. I could just never do that. I mean,
Like,
obviously.
people
but,
working in one is just...
see, I feel like I could work in one. But I don't think I would never live in one. Like, no. No. Even working in one is scary, for sure, though. For sure. Because, like, the muscle spasms and, like, them sitting up is real, if you didn't know.
That's scary.
And most of the time, it's not them fully sitting up. It's just, like, an arm will twitch or something. But, I mean, it's been done. It's been said and it's been done. So that's creepy. Creepy. But, yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that I know. Oh, definitely go check on our Instagram, because there will be pictures of Slenderman and Ghost, I guess. I don't really have, you can see what the house looks like. I'll show you. But yeah. Other than that, please go rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as per usual. But I guess I don't really have anything else.
Yeah, neither do I.
Okay, well, stay spooky out there and love the earth, especially considering that is Earth Day on Friday, guys.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess we'll see you next week.
Okay, cue the music.